Hey people, Ely here, and today in this video what I'm going to be doing is just quickly talking to you about damage calculations, limit breaks, and a quick overview on report cards, just so that you can get the maximum information based on this, so that you can go ahead and get the maximum amount of XP and try to get the maximum amount of damage with the weapons or equipment that you would like to equip yourself. So just before we start, if you're new to this channel, just make sure you hit the subscribe button and just give this video a thumbs up, just to help us out a little bit. Right, let's get to it. Gonna start off quickly with damage calculations. So basically, the damage calculations is discussed. They apply to all situations with only a few exceptions. So if there are any enemies or any foes or monsters or anything like that, if they have an ability or an attack specifically to the character type, they have something called 1,000 needles. So obviously that hits 1,000 every time. So there are a few exceptions that do not apply, such as this. Otherwise, there is basically a general formula, and the formula goes a little bit like this. So the damage is equal to, let's just say, A times B times C times D times E. And these are basically five factors, so we're going to name them A to E. They are detailed in 5 sections, so each letter of the alphabet has a different meaning. So if we go A, B, C, D, E, we'll start off with A. A is basically the base damage. B is the target's defense. C is the affinity modifier. And D is the conditional modifier or modifiers, depending how many there are or that you have equipped. And E is basically the last but not least random modifier. So it goes A base damage times the target defense times the affinity modifier times the conditional modifier, and then times E, the random modifier. And that's after all these calculations have happened, then you will have a damage output specifically to that monster that you are attacking, or if that monster is attacking you. So this formula over here is basically a universal formula, and it works both on the party members and enemies. Party members being the other 3 party members that you have that run around the wilderness with you, and again this applies to enemies. The damage per hit is capped at 9,999, which is pretty basic with Final Fantasy games. But there is an exception, obviously, just like with all Final Fantasy games, and there is a limit break, which tends to go to 99,999, and then sometimes even 999,999. So the limit breaks, or the possibilities that you can break the 9,999 in Final Fantasy 15, is based on 3 factors. The first factor is limit break spells, which is basically self-explanatory. You have spells that you can use which break the limit, that is the damage that's capped on. The other one is link strikes. So whilst you're in a fight, regardless if it's a boss fight or a single enemy or a multiple enemy, if you're able to land a link strike with your team, then you are able to exceed that limit cap at 9,999, and you can go above and beyond that. And the link strikes, by the way, you can only use this after unlocking the limitless link. That is an ascension node that you can unlock once you go to your menu. The last one, or the third one, is limit break itself. It is basically an ascension ability available to each one of your party members, and again this applies to techniques that you can use or unlock in the ascension type. So to quickly expand on everything that I've just explained, I'm going to go through them one by one. I'm going to try to do it quickly whilst giving the most information as possible. So the base damage, if we go from A, B, C, D and E on the formula that we did, the base damage is basically your physical damage or your magic damage. Your physical damage, there is a formula for physical base damage, and it goes strength, your player's strength, plus the weapon power, plus level of your current character times the times 3, and then the total of that is times by the attack damage modifier that you have on your character times by 2. So again, strength plus the weapon power plus your level times 3. The total of that is times by the attack damage modifier times 2. If we head over to the magic for the base damage, we're still on A over here. It's the formula for this is magic plus 100. The total of that is times by spell power plus 20. You times that by the level plus 20 times 1 out of 200. So the spell power is basically the potential value that appears on your screen after you craft one of the spells that you do, whichever one that you decide to pick from. Moving on to over B. So we've just done A, going on to B. B is the target's defense, and the way that is 1 out of 1 plus vitality out of 100, and this one is referred to against physical attacks, and the other one is 1 out of 1 plus spirit out of 100, and that is against the magic. Moving on to affinity modifiers. What this means is that it's a simple check against the affinity of the target to the damage type being dealt. These are basically resistances or weaknesses to damage types that you do against monsters. The next one that we have is conditional modifiers, or modifier or modifiers, depending how many there are. And conditional modifiers, what this basically refers to is the sets of possible multipliers that you can apply after all basic factors have been completed, or parameters have been completed, equipped, and attack properties have been taken into consideration. So after all of that, then comes the conditional modifiers. For added percentage values, it simply converts to a multiplier. For instance, it could be plus 10% over 1.1 or times 1.1 for the functional equivalent. So some examples of this could be ranged or range modifiers for ranged weapons. You can do for instance, blindside modifier, warp strike, distance modifier, a critical hit multiplier, or when an enemy is vulnerable state, which comes to a 1.5 times. So that's what this means on this calculations. And lastly, E, which is basically a random modifier. This factor translates into a value between 0.94 and 1.06, and there is always a plus 6% random variation in any situation for this. And lastly, the report cards. Now, we all know when you finish a fight, you get a report card, and it can range anything from the lowest it goes to is D, and the highest it can go to is, I believe, an S, maybe. I've seen some people get S's, so I believe that is possible, because why would it not be? Right, so the total XP that you get after a fight from the report card is based on your base, so there's a base XP per monster, times 1 plus the defense bonus that you've gotten, plus the stealth bonus that you've gotten, plus the offense bonus that you've gotten. So quickly recapping this, your base XP you get from the monster itself. So if a monster has 1000 XP, you're going to get 1000 XP from that monster regardless of what your report card gives you. Now, the attributes of this is 1 plus your defense bonus. Now, the defense bonus going from D, C, B, A, and then A plus. D, you have to get 0 points. C is 1, B is 2, A is 3, A plus is 4. And by defense, I'm talking about parries, the amount of times you can do that within a fight, 0 to 4. Now, the stealth bonus is basically the blind side. D, to get a D for a report card is 0, C is 1, B is 2, A is 4, and A plus is 6. So if you want an A plus, you have to get 6 blindside stealth is. Lastly, the offense bonus. So basically the enemy is defeated. D is minus 50% of those enemies. C is half of those enemies completed. B, 80% of the enemies killed. A is 90%, and A plus is 100%. So if you want to get an A plus on all of them, you pretty much need to have around 4 defense parries, 6 stealth blindsides, and 100% enemy defeated. Now the bonus that you get, just quickly, D is 0, C is a 0.1 bonus, B is a 0.2, A is a 0.3, and A plus is a 0.4. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was just talking to you in regards to limit breaks and report cards. If you do have any questions, please leave a comment down below and I will try and answer it as quickly as possible. If you're new to this channel, just hit the subscribe button. Make sure you click the thumbs up, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. See ya.